everyone, this is Mitchell from New Dawn Aquaculture. We're an Edmonton-based coral farm that focuses on sustainably and ethically farming coral for the Canadian market. And today I want to talk to you about one of the coral strains we farm, the Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn. The Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn belongs to the genus and species Fimbriaphyllia paradivisa. Now, it used to belong to the genus Euphyllia, but in 2017 was reclassified to Fimbriaphyllia with many other species that used to belong to Euphyllia. The only species still remaining in Euphyllia are glabrescens and cristata, the torch, and grape corals. Now, I don't think we're done with taxonomy mix-ups with this group of corals. Even within Fimbriaphyllia, we see distinct differences between Indonesian and Australian strains of hammers and frog spawns. So I think we'll see some more species pop up here, and I'm probably going to be changing what I'm calling these corals once more research is done. But for now, just know that frog spawns are no longer considered Euphyllia. There's actually good reason to understand proper coral taxonomy when it comes to placing these animals in your aquarium. A common piece of advice I hear all the time is you can keep a Euphyllia garden with the exception of torch corals, which need to be kept in their own separate garden. But what those people giving that advice are unknowingly actually saying is you can keep a Fimbriaphyllia garden or you can keep a Euphyllia garden. And there's tons of examples of this. Another really good one is Homophyllia. Two corals that are completely mislabeled in the hobby are Scalemia australensis, which is actually Homophyllia australensis, and Acanthastria bowerbanki, which is actually Homophyllia bowerbanki. Now, you can grow these two corals into each other, no problem, but if you tried to grow them into the genus that they're mislabeled by, they would get zapped and it would not be good. You would lose your coral. So it's really important to actually understand what animals your corals are closely related to when it comes to placing them in your aquarium. The Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn that we farm at New Dawn Aquaculture is an Indonesian frogspawn with purple tips and neon green stems. This is a strain that we acquired from a museum roughly 3 years ago, and the museum had been growing it out for over a decade. Now, this is the perfect strain of coral for us to farm at New Dawn Aquaculture. When we're looking to add strains to our coral farm, we're not interested in anything that was recently in the ocean. And this is the perfect strain for us because it'll grow way faster, it colors up better, and it also tends to be a lot hardier for our customers just because of how well adapted it is to captivity. Most of the frog spawn strains that you're seeing available right now tend to be these maricultured strains coming out of Indonesia, and I have nothing against these strains. There's some really beautiful ones that we wish we could be offering our customers. And we have taken steps to add these strains to our farm, but it takes a lot of time to get them well adapted to captivity, at least 1 to 2 years, to get them to a point where they are as hardy and will grow as fast as our Purple Tips Branching Frogspawn. Another really important thing when it comes to farming branching frog spawn corals is that we are only interested in farming the Indonesian strains of this coral. And the reason why is because the Australian strains, one head will slowly split and become two, whereas the Indonesian strains get these baby heads all around the skeleton. And we found for every single head we can farm of Australian frog spawn, we can farm 10 to 15 heads of Indonesian frog spawn. So for an aquaculture facility that has to dedicate a lot of space to these corals, it really only makes sense to focus on farming the Indonesian strains. The care requirements for Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn are not too bad. They're not the easiest to keep LPS coral, that's probably something more like a candy cane or a Duncan. But I would say that these frog spawns are a slight step up in difficulty from those, so still a fairly easy beginner-friendly LPS coral. When it comes to lighting and flow, you don't want to overdo either of them. With lighting, I like to recommend low to medium. It'll adapt to either condition. It's just if you give it too much light, you'll bleach the coral. And with flow, it does well in low to medium flow. In low flow, the polyps get really big and don't move that much. In medium flow, you'll have a lot more sway in the polyps, but they'll be smaller. And in too high of flow, the polyp will really shrivel up and you'll actually start to see the skeleton poking through, which is obviously bad. So avoid that. If you start to see that, you either need to dial your flow back or you need to move the coral to a lower flow part of the tank. But as long as you're not blasting these corals with too much light or too much flow, they should adapt to where they are and grow well for you. When it comes to water chemistry, this is an easier to keep LPS coral that can handle some less than ideal water chemistry parameters. Now, obviously, the better you keep your water, the faster it'll grow and the more colorful it'll be, but it can handle higher levels of nutrients and it can deal with some swings in your major elements. So it's not super sensitive. If you miss a water change, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to die on you, but I would still suggest trying to be as on top of your parameters as possible if you really want to see the full potential of this coral. Our strain of Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn, much like all corals of the Fimbriaphyllia genus, are great candidates to feed in your aquarium. They have these very exaggerated feeding responses, which make them very fun to feed, and they also tend to color up a lot and grow faster the more you feed them. Now, just know that these corals don't require it to survive, so if your water's too dirty, you shouldn't feed them, but you should be aiming to keep your water clean, and if you can keep your water clean, then you should feed these corals because they benefit a lot from it. If you want to learn more about the Purple Tip Branching Frogspawn strain that we farm at New Dawn Aquaculture, you can find more information on our website at ndaquaculture.ca. We'll have a link in the description below to it. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing more videos on all of the coral strains we farm, the dry goods we use to grow those corals, and the captive bred fish we sell. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.